This is ABC15 Mornings.
As more states across the country prepare to reopen businesses, we are hearing news of more COVID-19 cases. Now, one of the people responsible for handling this pandemic could lose his job.
And we're learning more about that deadly helicopter crash in Mesa. Apparently, this is not the first time that aircraft has gone down.
Dangerous temperatures making their way to the valley, and they are here to stay at least for a while. We're going to keep you updated with that most accurate forecast. Make sure that you stay safe and cool, and watch out for your pets and your elderly friends as well. And with that, we say good morning to you as we come up on 6 o'clock on this Sunday. I'm Nohelani Graff.
And I'm Mark Thompson, social distancing from home. And I was telling you earlier, no, hey, I didn't get a chance to see what it looked like outside yesterday because I pretty much stayed in a cave that I've created for myself with the blinds closed and all the lights off and just maybe looking at a little Netflix, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty much how most of my house looked. And then we finally ventured outside to try and dip our toes in the pool. But it wasn't until most of the sun had gone down, so it was mostly shade then back on the back patio because it was really warm yesterday. It was hot out there, and more of the same today. In fact, I think will be even warmer. So at least on this weather action day, we're starting off with gorgeous views as always this morning in the Valley of the Sun. A few high thin clouds. Live look at the superstitions this morning, but we do have an excessive heat warning in effect, so we want you to take action to stay safe. That heat warning in effect today and tomorrow, covering the Phoenix area and Pinal County. We're looking at highs of 100 to 105 degrees. So if you can stay inside during the hours of 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., do. Temperatures across the valley right now pretty mild. We've got some 70s in Phoenix and Mesa, low 70s at that. But the good news is we also have a lot of valley cities starting off in the 60s this morning. 66 in Glendale, 65 in Goodyear. So if you have anything to do outside and you're trying to get some exercise in, earlier rather than later is the time to do it. I will walk you through today's most accurate forecast hour by hour so you can see when we really start to warm up. That's coming up in just a little bit, Mark.
All right, no, hey, thank you so much. And right now we have an update developing this morning. That is, police have an investigation on the way. This is near 19th Avenue in Dunlap. And we don't know many details about this at this time, but late last night, police were investigating two different scenes, one at a Circle K at an intersection there and the other in a neighborhood just down the road. It's unknown if these two scenes are connected or what led up to that investigation. Now to Glendale, where a bicyclist was rushed to the hospital after they were hit by a car. This happened near 59th Avenue in Bell just before 11 o'clock last night. That rider does have some serious injuries. The driver of the car stayed on scene, and alcohol and speed do not appear to be factors in that case. And right now we're working to get more information about a house fire. It happened overnight near 43rd Avenue and Union Hills. Our crew on scene told us that it looks like that the house, however, is a total loss. And a 2-year-old boy was rushed to the hospital after being pulled from a family pool last night. It happened at a home near 35th Avenue and Northern Avenue. As of last night, he was in critical condition. And we have an update on that helicopter crash that we had been telling you about for the past day or so. According to the NTSB, reports say that chopper crashed in 2008 near Rock Springs, Wyoming, and we're told that the engine overheated in that case for unknown reasons, and there was a complete engine failure. Friday's incident is still under investigation. We're talking about that same helicopter. The two men in the helicopter have now been identified. The pilot is Albert Hayden, and the passenger, Chip Page. Page died at the scene. He was a former news helicopter pilot in Los Angeles.
Making national headlines right now, there are reports that the White House is discussing the possible replacement of the Health and Human Services Secretary over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. This as the global death toll surpasses 200,000. ABC's Karina Mitchell has more.
As more states across the U.S. prepare to reopen businesses, news of more COVID-19 cases. At least 40 new infections of the novel coronavirus in Milwaukee County tied to the Wisconsin election on April 7th. And in St. Charles, Illinois, a Smithfield Foods facility ordered to close by the health department because of COVID-19. County officials working with the company on mitigation efforts. 20,000 businesses across Minnesota are preparing to reopen on Monday, affecting up to 100,000 workers. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he and the governors of bordering states continue to coordinate reopening plans.
We're working towards trying to come to a consensus on principles, but there is an acknowledgement within the states that everyone is going to be on their own timeline. The major goal is to not undermine one another's success in dealing with the infection rates within the states.
This as poison control centers across the country deal with a growing number of calls amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In New York City, an unusually high number of calls related to fears over exposure to bleach and other household disinfectants. The city's health commission taking to Twitter, to be clear, disinfectants are not intended for ingestion either by mouth, by ears, by breathing them in any way, shape, or form, and doing so can put people at great risk. Illinois also reporting an increase in calls.
Please do not try home remedies that involve ingesting cleaners or disinfectants. You could have very dire consequences.
The warnings coming after President Trump suggested that using UV light and injecting household disinfectant could be a way to treat COVID-19. He later said he was being sarcastic. It's still unclear whether the increase in calls to poison control centers is related to the president's comments. Karina Mitchell, ABC News, New York.
Karina, thanks. Now let's get to the coronavirus numbers right here in Arizona. Right now, the state is reporting nearly 6,300 cases. That is up 221 cases from the day before. We have also learned of 7 more deaths, bringing the total to 273 lives lost. The city of Chandler already starting to make some changes. The mayor there announcing that some park amenities, including dog parks, archery ranges, and pickleball courts, are reopening. Skate and bike parks will also be added to the list starting May 1st.
And new this morning, an important reminder from the Arizona Game and Fishing Department. Rattlesnakes, they are out. Do you hear that, Nohe? And its peak season is right now. There have been 39 bites reported so far this year. Officials say that those snakes are most active during the day. And if you are bitten by a rattlesnake, you're urged to call 911 immediately and keep the area where you were bitten elevated because you don't want it to be below the heart.
Man, that is the exact reason why I don't hike during this time of year when the temperature rises. Not because of the heat, but because I know it draws out those slithery critters. Right now, it is more mild, though. So if you're somebody who insists on hiking, then now would be the time to do it because our temperatures are in the 60s across much of the valley and certainly on those mountain peaks. 70s, though, in Phoenix and Mesa right now. We will warm up, though. It's in the 70s now, but our peak temperature today looks to be 103 degrees. That does look to beat the record of 101 that was set back in 1992, so we will be on record watch. Also, we have an excessive heat warning in effect today and tomorrow, and this is the earliest that has ever been issued by the National Weather Service. The last time at its earliest was May 6th. That was 2018. And also, we're looking at highs around 105 next week, and we have only hit that temperature in April 3 times ever. So this could be a record-breaking week ahead with all of this heat. So we're going to continue to track it for you as that sun is up on this Sunday morning. Plus, I've got to look at that statewide forecast for any of you who are lucky enough to be in the high country and get a little bit of relief. That's coming up in just moments.
No, hey, thank you. Coming up, millions of Americans relying on food banks to feed their families. Now, it's the food banks that are in need of help. Also, a unique way to say thank you to our essential workers out there. We'll show you more coming up after the break. Welcome back, everybody. With millions of Americans right now out of work amid this outbreak, many are now turning to food banks for much needed help and relief as they struggle to feed their families. And the food banks themselves, they're now facing their own shortages. Hundreds of cars lining up for hours. For many, this is the first time that they are seeking help.
I just had to get past those feelings of shame and know that, I was doing it for my family.
It's happening all across the country. Just in Los Angeles, one food bank says that their 2 distribution centers have handed out 73% more food compared to the first 2 months of the same time last year. Happening in Prescott today, Central Church, they are setting up a pop-up pantry at the Prescott Gateway Mall. The free food distribution will start at 9 a.m. and will continue until they run out. In the past 5 weeks, Central Church has distributed over 2 million pounds of free food. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich is now saying that schools and their districts, they can use funds for coronavirus and to fight that outbreak. This is according to our partners at KTAR 92.3 FM. That opinion will let schools use those funds for health-related expenses to help students, families, and the community. Now, that money can come from state or federal grants, from donations, and also the Student Activity Fund.
We're about a quarter past the top of the hour. Let's talk about that most accurate forecast, because it is a weather action day here at ABC15 Arizona. And that is because we have an excessive heat warning in place for the Valley, the Phoenix metro area, stretching up through Lake Pleasant, out through Buckeye and east of Apache Junction, on down through portions of Pinal County, including Casa Grande. And that heat alert is in effect today and tomorrow. We also have that excessive heat watch in place for areas of Kingman, Lake Havasu City along our western border, down through the Imperial Valley, Yuma included as well. And so what we want you to do is take action to protect yourself, your pets, and your elderly neighbors, to keep cool and stay hydrated so that everybody stays safe. Right now, temperatures across the valley are nice and mild, so if you do need to get outside, this morning would be the time to do it. This is the best part of the day where it's most comfortable and safe. 66 in Surprise right now, 65 in Glendale. We're down to 62 in Chandler and Gilbert, so that feels nice and refreshing out there. Even open the window. If you are someone who has a furry friend, you got to take the dog out for a walk, then definitely try to get that walk in before noon. Between 1 and 4 is when we hit our peak heat, and so you've really got to use caution. And just remember, your dogs need to be as hydrated as you are, and if the pavement is too hot for your feet, it's too hot for your dogs as well. You're good for an evening walk as well between 5 and 9. It'll be warm, but at least safe. Temperatures right now across the state, we still have 30s at the Grand Canyon, 38 in Flagstaff, 36 in Heber. We're sitting at 50 degrees in Prescott, and we're already in the 70s in Bullhead City and Lake Havasu City. But check out the warm up. We're looking at triple digits along our western border. That's where that excessive heat watch is in effect as well. So we're looking at a high of 104 in Bullhead City, 103 in Quartzsite, 105 in Yuma. More triple digits to our south in Ajo and Casa Grande, coming close to the century mark in Safford. If you are fortunate enough to live up in the high country in Prescott, Sedona, Payson, you're looking at highs in the 80s today. Remember, if you are seeking cooler weather, now is really not the time to go for a drive up to the high country, because they are still practicing social distancing and the restaurants remain closed, as well as the most popular trails. So just be mindful of that. A high of 75 today in Flagstaff, so really great weather up there, 80 degrees up in Window Rock. Highs across the valley, yeah, we're going to see triple digits today, and it'll probably be the first time this year since we fell just short yesterday. So we're looking at a high of 103 in Goodyear and Levine, as well as Chandler and Gilbert, 102 in Mesa, Scottsdale, and the Deer Valley neighborhoods, staying in the upper 90s today in Cave Creek and Anthem. And how we get there is 103 is that forecast high, but we're far above the average, which should be 88 right now. So if it feels too hot too soon, yeah, you're right on track. We'll stay in the 70s through the 9 o'clock hour. Then we transition into the 80s. That will be short-lived, because by noon, we're already warming into the mid-90s and hitting those triple digits right around 3 o'clock through about 5 o'clock. Our air quality has improved a little today and tomorrow, but on Tuesday and Wednesday, stagnant air, we do expect ozone pollution levels to go up. And so if you have breathing sensitivities, you're going to want to limit your time outdoors later this week. But I think really, taking a look at these temperatures, everybody's going to want to limit their time outdoors, especially come Wednesday and Thursday, because we'll be reaching temperatures of 105 and 106 by the middle and second half of the work week there. So we will continue to track those and see if any excessive heat warnings are issued. Right now they're heat watches, but we'll continue to monitor that. Now the 7-day forecast does have just a little bit of hope in it, and I do see double digits in the 7 days, so I will show you coming up in just a little bit this morning.
All right, no, hey, thank you. 6:16 on your Sunday morning. Staying strong, Arizona, and finding unique ways to say thank you. The Dobson Ranch Yacht Club putting on a boat parade last night, thanking healthcare workers, firefighters, police officers, grocery store clerks, really anyone who is working hard through this COVID-19 pandemic. Well, it's safe to say that the Arizona Cardinals, they are happy with their 2020 NFL draft picks coming up. We'll introduce you to 6 new players who all are coming off of impressive college careers.
ABC15 Sports, sponsored by Sanderson Ford.
We're putting this one to bed now. Day 3 of the NFL draft now behind us, and by all accounts, the Arizona Cardinals hit a home run, grabbing all 6 picks that ultimately filled areas of need, and with top quality and high character guys, each of whom was a team captain in college. We have team coverage with ABC15's Colin Harmon in Tempe at Cardinals headquarters and College Football Hall of Famer and 2-time Super Bowl champion Mark May. But before I get to the guys, let's take a quick look at the Cardinals picks on day 3. They opened the day with 2 picks in the 4th round and started by drafting Leki Fotu, a 6'5", 335-pound defensive tackle out of Utah. Lotu was named second-team All-American and a 2-time first-team All-Pac-12 players. In 13 games this season for the Utes, Fotu finished with 29 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. He was also a high school All-American rugby player. He will be a huge addition to the Cardinals' defensive line. They stayed with the defensive line with their 2nd pick in the 4th round, selecting defensive tackle Rashard Lawrence out of LSU. Lawrence was a second-team All-SEC pick this season, and he was also named the MVP of the Fiesta Bowl this last season. He was also a captain on LSU's national championship team. He's 6'2", 308 pounds, with the ability to move the line of scrimmage. Lawrence finished his career with the Tigers with 120 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, 7 passes defensed, and a forced fumble. In the 6th round, the Cards stayed on defense, selecting inside linebacker Evan Weaver out of Cal. The 6'2", 240-pounder was a consensus All-American after leading the FBS with 182 tackles. The Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year posted 10 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 passes defensed. Steve Keim called Weaver an extremely productive player. With their final pick of the weekend, the Cards stayed local, selecting Arizona State running back Eno Benjamin. Eno finished his ASU career with back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons and 27 rushing touchdowns. Eno was another player that Coach Cliff Kingsbury recruited when he was a high schooler in Texas. Eno was also a pretty effective receiver out of the backfield. Eno, the first ASU player to be drafted by the Cardinals since Pat Tillman back in 1998. So the 2020 Cardinals draft looks like this. All-American defensive Swiss Army knife Isaiah Simmons in the 1st round. Offensive tackle Josh Jones in the 3rd. Defensive lineman Leki Fotu in the 4th. Those picks followed by defensive tackle Rashard Lawrence out of LSU, inside linebacker Evan Weaver out of Cal, and again, Eno Benjamin in the 7th. I caught up with our draft analyst Mark May, a 17-year veteran on ESPN, to get his take on some of the more memorable moments of the draft. Let me take you back to the 1981 NFL draft, this young offensive tackle out of Pitt. How much has this changed over the years now?
Oh, it's changed because back in the day, we didn't have cell phones, didn't really have computers, didn't have laptops. Back then, we had rotary phones, kids. Guess what? We had to do it the old-fashioned way. We used radio and television to communicate, and now you've got a system that's entirely different. When I was drafted, I was at the stadium, at Pitt Stadium with Randy McMillan and Hugh Green, which got drafted in the 1st round before me. We got phone calls from teams that day in Coach Sherrill's office to find out when we got drafted and who we got drafted to.
Do you think Jerry Jones drafting from his yacht or Cliff Kingsbury from his Paradise Valley home, who won the draft here this weekend, Mark?
Well, the thing is, we're used to seeing these mansions out here in Arizona because, you know, the Fooey Mansion and all that stuff out there and, you know, the Kingsbury Mansion. Everybody's used to seeing that on television out here, but the yacht. Jerry's on a 250-foot yacht. I'll tell you a quick Jerry Jones story. A couple of years ago at the owners' meeting, Jerry and his son Stephen come by and say, "Hey, Mark May." I said, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" Jerry says, "You know, I don't have time to have a bad time. Let's have a cocktail."
Thanks, Mark. It was certainly a fun and entertaining draft. ABC15's Colin Harmon is at Cardinals headquarters with more on today's draft, in particular, the surprise 7th-round selection of Eno Benjamin.
Well, Greg, he's certainly no stranger around these parts. Eno Benjamin just went from one Tempe headquarters to another. Eno said he had visited with the Cardinals multiple times during the combine process and knew they were a potential landing spot. He just went a lot later in the draft than he was expecting.
I thought I'd be taken yesterday, some point during the 3rd round. It wasn't playing out the way we were expecting it to, but at the end of the day, I knew all I needed was one shot, one opportunity. And so we were pretty optimistic that that opportunity would come.
A guy that, we thought would have gone much higher. So the value in the 7th round and a player that can do a number of things for you, really excited about him.
Very familiar with him as a player. I remember recruiting him in high school and obviously followed him, the success he's had out here. He's very durable. Very productive, tough runner. Last year, we get to about week 6, and we're down to our 3rd back. That's when we made the trade for Kenyon. So we wanted to bring in a young guy that could learn from 2 backs that we're very high on and be a productive part of the team. And we think Eno fills that need.
I'm looking to go in there and do anything I can to contribute to the team's success right off the bat. As far as what they've done, they're a lot of a spread, something that I feel very comfortable doing. I've been watching the offense and seeing how it goes. I think I'd fit right in, and I'm very excited to be a part of this team.
I can't tell you how proud it makes me to take Arizona State players, Arizona local kids, Byron Murphy. It just feels special to me.
Clearly, Keim loves it. Eno is the 7th player with local ties on the Cardinals, and Keim mentioned the value of getting him in the 7th round. Craig, the entire theme of this draft was about the Cardinals and their value picks. It all just seemed to fall in their lap so perfectly.
Well, the Cardinals have already turned their attention to signing undrafted free agents in order to fill out their roster. Steve Keim is hoping that Cliff Kingsbury's instant success on social media this weekend helps out when it comes to convincing players to come to Arizona.
As soon as I get off this call, I'll get back with our scouts and our coaches, and we'll continue to work the calls in free agency and see if we can recruit these guys here. Coach has been using FaceTime and showing them his palatial estate and trying to recruit them that way, so that should help.
Couldn't have said it any better. That's a look at sports.
All right, 6:26 now on your Sunday morning. A local artist is now working to spread a little bit of hope, love, and appreciation. We'll have that coming up on the other side of the break. Also, a classic American pastime is making a comeback thanks to social distancing.